Hello and welcome to the third episode of Casting Shadows. We're back again. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy, here with AK. Want to thank everybody that tuned in and watched the previous two episodes on YouTube and on SoundCloud. The second episode hasn't gone up on Apple Podcasts yet. Not exactly sure what's going on. But...
Yeah, we're sorry about that. We're still trying to figure out what's going on Apple Podcasts. It seems like they like to take their sweet time with reviewing content before it's posted. Also, comment below what you think, what platform you use to listen to our podcast.
Whether it be YouTube or whether it be SoundCloud, which do you think is best for your viewing experience?
Or we were thinking about uploading to Spotify as well. So let us know which streaming platform for audio stuff would you like it on.
All right, so to go ahead and start this episode off right, in the first episode we talked a little bit about Urza after the bannings of Mox Opal, bannings of Oko, and we were kind of talking about to see if Urza would last, because Izzet Phoenix really got hurt bad when Faithless Looting got banned, and that basically nerfed the deck, and the deck really hasn't come back. It came back for like one event, and everybody's like, oh, maybe it's not dead, but it's dead.
Yeah, all we saw, like I remember way back when Faithless Looting got axed, all we saw on Twitter was like people trying to brew, people putting Izzet Charms and Faithless Looting. I'm sure you remember that famous gif of Seth Rogen trying to duct tape the wall, and it has a big crack through it.
Yeah.
And it was like, Izzet Phoenix players be like, and it put the giant duct tape on it, because losing Faithless Looting was such a huge hit to that deck. A lot of people thought it would happen to Urza as well, but I have to say that Urza doesn't look like it's going anywhere. I mean, it might be going down in numbers, but I think it's still a pretty legit deck for sure.
So we've seen a couple Urza style decks pop out. We've seen was it Tamir or is it Sultai?
I've seen
Grixis.
I've seen Grixis, which is the pre-Oko list, basically minus Mox Opal, and they replaced it with Mox Amber. But Eli Casis, I think I pronounced his last name, he piloted to SCG just had a team event last weekend at Richmond, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And he piloted with Corey Bymeister and his other teammate. It was a team event, so it was Standard, Pioneer, and Modern. And the Modern deck he picked was Blue-Black Urza. And he did fairly well with that list. I think it only has one Sword of the Meek and one Thopter Foundry, if I'm correct.
It has one Sword of the Meek, two Thopter Foundry, one Sword of the Meek.
So the combo is in there, but it's very light. But for the most part, he just has 4 Urza. He won with no Emery, which I thought was very interesting. But it's just like a straight blue-black control deck with a combo finish to wrap up the game. Because a lot of time, control decks in Modern have a very hard time finishing the game. You think about the blue-white control decks with Jason Mind Sculptor, Teferi, Hero Dominaria. They often would try to stall out the game and force you to concede. But people would just be like, you know what? You're playing this control deck. I'm going to have you try to kill me. Like, it's your go. I don't care if I get a tie. It's your loss if you get one kind of thing. So, but with this deck, you can just whir for Thopter Foundry or whir for Sword, and then boom, you have your combo and you win.
And I think one of the things that is really nice, so it has like 7 counter spells, because Archmage Charm can counter. It's running 3 of those, running 2 Cryptics, one Deprive, and a Drown on the Lock. So, like you said, it's a real control aspect of it, but there's a lot of card draw. Because, like, Arkham's Astrolabe, very good artifact, draws you a card.
It cycles itself, yeah.
Yeah, helps fix the mana, which is only 2 colors in this deck, so it doesn't...
It's very streamlined. I think there's only 1 Swamp, basic, by the way, right?
Yep, 1 Swamp, 6 Islands.
Yeah, it's very blue-heavy.
But it's running 4 Mishra's Bauble, automatic, and artifact decks. It's another way to keep on drawing through your cards to try to find what you need.
Improvise, too, with word mention and stuff
so
like that.
So all this helps it become more consistent, because you're able to dig through your deck a lot better. You're able to find your pieces through whir. It really just one of the nastier combos I see is that Deprive and Mystic Sanctuary lock.
That's pretty nasty, because you're able to just keep on returning Mystic Sanctuary, and then you counter their spell, and then you play it next turn, and then boom, then it's right back on your deck, and you cast a Bowel or Astrolabe or even Archmage's Charm, and you draw that card right back, and you don't want to even draw it next turn. So
So Eli did really good with that, and then there was another, I think it was a Modern Challenge, where this same deck, somebody brought it and went 5-0 with that too.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of 5-0s of blue backers.
So it looks like it's going to be here to stay.
I think people have gone back to the whole sense of controlling more than combo and mid-range. Because if you look at Pioneer right now, Dimir Inverter is huge. I'm sure everyone is aware of the combo. You play Inverter of Truth, which is the 4-mana 6/6 Eldrazi. And when he enters the battlefield, you put your take your library and you exile it, and your graveyard becomes your library. Then you play Thassa's Oracle, and then you basically win the game. But prior to that, there's no really like key tutors or anything like that. It's thought seizes and counter spells and removal spells so they get to that point. So it's a control deck up until that point, which I think reminds me of Splinter Twin when it was just basically a control deck until they got to the Splinter Twin Deceiver X-Arch, and they would just win with that. So I think combo decks like that and control decks like that are very important. That combo control element are very popular, and I'm looking forward to it. So based off of that, though, Jeremy, what do you think are some sideboard cards that you would bring in on the Shadow side, whether it be 4-color Shadow, Grixis Green, or Grixis Death Shadow, to beat these blue-black Urza decks if you're sideboarding?
I would say it's a little bit harder with 4-color Shadow, but with Grixis Green, one of the cards that came to my mind immediately is Ancient Grudge.
Yeah, okay.
It's 2-mana, destroy target artifact, flash it back for a green.
And it gets milled over with the Thought Scour.
So if it gets milled over, you can still be able to use it, which is pretty good against artifacts. What about you?
So the 4-color, I think 4-color could play it, but a little bit rough, like you said, because it has that one blood crypt, so it's a constrained. But if I'm on the Grixis Shadow side, I'm bringing in Mystical Dispute. It's a hell of a card. I'm seeing Mystical Dispute. I was a little bit shaky on it beforehand, but the more I play it, the more I play with it in my sideboarded games, I'm like, wow, this is a good card. It hits Urza, which some of your Stubborn Downs cannot do. It hits Urza right away. It hits Cryptic. It hits Archmage Charms. It hits Drawn Unlock, Deprive. It hits a lot of spells in a blue-black list.
Yeah, the majority of it.
And like when you say, oh, no, your Cryptic command costs 7 mana now. Do you want to pay that? Even if they try to counter your counter, you're still coming out ahead because they're paying even more for that Cryptic command. They're paying 5 mana now for that Cryptic command. Or that's not the Deprive, because now they're paying, 6 mana plus returning an island back. And then what if you have a Stubborn now ready to go? You're coming out so ahead. So Mystical Dispute, I say, is a fantastic card.
I agree.
I think right now it should be at least a 1 of, maybe a 2 of in most Death Shadow sideboards. 4-color can play it. Grixis Green can play it. Grixis Death Shadow can play it. And so it's a very potent deck. But tying into SCG Richmond, I know that Titan decks were very popular last weekend. If you're sideboarding against those, what do you think to bring in, Jeremy?
I think, that also is dependent on what you're playing. A lot of lists, doesn't really matter which color you're on, it's running Damping Sphere.
Yes.
Because that basically nullifies any of those 2-mana...
The bounce lands.
The bounce lands that come in, that can come in untapped and bounce for 2 mana. So Damping Sphere can be really good against them.
It hates on Valakut too, right?
Yeah, hates on Valakut.
Yeah, because the Simic Titan decks, which are once the Amulet, like, super fast ones, were a little bit different than Scapeshift decks because they weren't relying on Valakut. But now with the new Dryad of Elysium card, that 3-mana 2/4 creature that says all lands are... I forget the wording, but basically it makes it all their lands are mountains as well. So they can run 2 Valakut and play those lands that come into play, and they're all mountains. So they're gonna just it's Amulet Titan, like Simic Amulet Titan plus Valakut combined, which makes it even more harder and more resilient to kill, and it can kill you in another sense. So in that deck, I do agree. I would bring in Dampening Sphere against Titan decks for sure. The only thing I like about Dampening Sphere is that we ourselves cast a ton of spells in turn, which can, because paying 1 for a bauble does not feel good. Let me tell you. So. In that sense, I say, you know what? I think it's time to give Tunnel Ignis a try. I think it is. The 2/1 beater, it's 2 mana. Either that or Alpine Moon or Ashiok Dream Renderer.
That was what I was going to bring up.
Really is a great card against Titan because it can't search for libraries, so no fetch lands, no discarding Talaria West to go search for a land. No Talaria West, sorry about that. Summoner's Pact. No more. Primeval Titan triggers, no more.
You can't go search. Yep.
So, and then I've seen a lot of players target the Primeval Titan player to start milling them, and you wonder why, like, are they going to mill them out the game? But no, because they have a lot of one-ofs in their deck. Like the one-ofs Mystical Disputes they bring in, or the Valakuts, which are only 2 in the whole entire deck. So you mill that, that's a whole part of their game that's gone now.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy those sideboard cards. If you're going against Urza and Titan, I recommend Mystical Disputes and Ashiok. Those are the 2 cards I recommend the most.
And I think I was kind of thinking, I think Tunnel Ignis would be better, a little bit better for Grixis and Grixis Green.
Yeah.
Because like the 4-color Shadow, like they're so tight on lands.
Red mana.
And yeah, you got just 1 Blood Crypt, I believe, in the main. It's like it's not impossible.
But you can run Traverse. Traverse, you can go grab it right away.
Go find it.
You know, I'm actually experimenting with a 4-color Shadow list that's running 2-mana Morphos also, because it's an instant in the graveyard for Delirium, but also it can cycle through your mana, giving you that precious red mana that you need to put in into
drawing
play.
A card.
Yeah, and drawing a card, a cantrip. So I was thinking about that, but I could see in a Traverse version, just be wary that, because Titan loves to play Ghost Quarters as well in their main deck. So be wary of when you play that Blood Crypt, they can just easily play a Ghost Quarter and just hit you, and then you're off red mana for the rest of the game. So be wary of that. But Tunnel Ignis, for the Grixis Death Shadow players, the GDS, and the Grixis Green players, I say run it. I say give it a shot. Yep. Worst that can happen is you lose your match, and you can just blame us. So it's a win-win for both for everyone.
If it continues to be a deck like it is, it's going to be something to look towards.
Yeah,
too.
But if it does great, I'm going to take all the credit. So, I mean, granted, Brandon Dalloway gave us the idea, but still, I'll take some of the credit. So,
but yeah, I do believe Ashiok could be really good against both of those decks.
Yeah,
just because like if you get Ashiok out quick enough, Whir just becomes a dead card because you can't
Whir's
search.
Dead. Yeah.
So you can't find
their fetch lands, their blue deltas,
they
all
can't
that
find their combo pieces because Whir is kind of shut off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really interesting card. I saw it and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should start running some of those in my sideboard.
It's a solid card, and also like if your meadow is full of Crabvine or Dredge, it acts as like a repeatable Tormod's Crypt against them, and it's really good against opposing Death Shadow decks as well because we run so many fetch lands. And we rely on our graveyard so many times with Tarmogoyfs and Gurmag Anglers and Snapcasters. So Ashiok at the moment has a lot of targets it can hit, so I recommend it a lot. Yep. Also, the Devoted Druid decks that go searching in our library for the Devoted Druid combo, or now Teliad combo, those decks are under a lot of pressure now from Ashiok as well. So Ashiok is an all-star. Go pick up your Japanese alternate arts and get to playing.
Yeah, go pick up some copies before they start spiking.
Mystical Dispute is about $3 to $4 right now, I believe.
And I think when we bought it, I only spent like 40 cents on it.
It was under $1. It was like 30 cents.
It wasn't anything ridiculous.
I bought my foils for like $1 each. Now there's like 6. So I definitely don't envy the people trying to buy them because it's seen playing so much. Like I said, Pioneer on that for sure.
All right, so moving on. If you had to choose one deck to bring to a GP, and we're going to cut out cost because obviously we're college kids, we're a little bit broke, so some of these decks that we look at, we're like, it's a little too pricey for me to try to build out, right? So we're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore if you don't want to like completely play each line, because we're just going to, for this sake, pretend that we're able to practice with it.
But way before 2-3 weeks.
If you were able to bring one deck to a GP, what would you bring?
So I love Death Shadow, don't get me wrong. Obviously, the podcast is named Death Shadow, casting shadows and everything. But Blue-Black Urza attracts me a lot because of that hardcore control element, which a lot of decks these days struggle with. I think Amulet Titan struggles with it. I think the mono blue or the mono red prowess decks kind of struggle with it because we have so much life gain with the Thopter Foundry combo.
So that hits burn too.
That hits burn too as well. It has tutorable artifacts that can go get to hate on Dredge and Crabvine type decks. So it's between Blue-Black Urza, but then the Death Shadow category, I would probably pick probably Grixis Green because Veil of Summer still is a nuts card. It's a 1-mana counter spell that gives everything hexproof, can't be countered, or it gives your spells uncounterability. So probably Grixis Green for that for sure. So Death Shadow side, Grixis Green still. We're still not at the point where I go back to straight GDS, but Grixis Green I can definitely go with as of now. And Blue-black Urza if you're looking for a non-Death Shadow deck. I think those are my 2 picks.
I think that kind of fits your playstyle. Since I've known you for a while, we've played Magic for a while. I feel like Blue-black Control, though, has been like a deck that you wish was good.
Oh, Jeremy can attest to this. I used to run like the old Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, I think her name was, with like Cryptics and Romans, and it was just a weird blue-black garbage deck. But I was trying very hard to really push blue-black as an archetype, but I don't think it works on its own in straight control. But Urza with artifacts really helps it. So I think like I said, it can finish the game so much more quicker than blue-white control, because for the love of God, blue-white control cannot finish games on time. I know there's a podcast called Control Freak Podcast, and they're huge blue-white players, and I don't mean any offense to you guys when I say this, but I hate playing against blue-white control.
It's painful
when you guys cannot finish the game. Like I'm essentially locked at the game. I cannot do anything. My stuff will be countered. I'm gonna lose. But I do not want to concede because there's a 1% chance I can make it out. And 2, I don't care about my record where you really need this win. I don't. At that point, I'm going to sit there and be like, you know what? You got to finish the game, dude, or else we're going to go, or else you're going to tie and lose your record. And I see them like, oh, I'll zero with Jace. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, time's up. So I do like how they're adapting Stoneforge Mystic to go find a Battle Skull or go find a sword to start beating in that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty cool. I see that a lot. But blue-white control is definitely when they get that lock on you and you don't want to concede, it's miserable. And I don't even feel like it's fun for them either. Like they're sitting there panicking trying to find their win condition.
Like, all right, let me play a Cryptic.
I know.
Doesn't even look fun for them.
I know. And then like it's like, okay, I got my Colonnade, and then you're like, Fatal Push, and then they're like, Cryptic, and they're like, Terminate. I'm like, do this, do that. It's just like, it's an unnecessary counter war for no reason.
Before I answer what deck I would bring, just to bring up about Urza, because we know, like, it was disgusting with Opal and Oko.
Yeah.
Do you think that in the spot it is right now, that it's more of a fair Magic deck? Because before, like, it needed some bannings because it was too powerful. Do you think that it's now a little bit more fairer in this modern meta?
So, I think they had to pivot a lot more because I'm not saying Oko was a mindless card, but it felt like you could play it and just like, if it resolved, you can almost win because how well it was. And
especially depending on what deck you're facing.
Exactly. Like you play against Burn, it's slam dunk. You're not like...
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, Jeremy built Burn, and then we took it to our local LGS for a tournament, about like a 25-person tournament. And Jeremy got dunked on pretty hard by Oko decks.
Played Oko, yep.
Because main deck, repeatable life gain.
Gilded Goose.
In increments of 3, turns out it's pretty good against Burn.
2 or 3 matches I faced Oko and Gilded Goose. It was just like, wow, this was a great time to build Burn. Finish it.
So Urza, in that sense, was a pretty powerful deck. And it was also more mid-rangey at that point. It was like Emery. It was like I said, like Gilded Goose, as you said. And then no combo, just kind of... So it felt like it had so many answers to so many things. It was very hard to compete with it. And I don't think... It was so much of the modern meta that people were sick of it because Oko was in every single deck. And Urza was the best deck to take advantage of its incremental artifact value and everything. So I don't think I think like, is Oko fair? I want to say yes because it's a fair card. But also, it's a miserable fair card to play against.
And it got abused.
And just because something is fair doesn't mean it's good for the meta. Or it's good for Modern in general. You know. So, in that sense, I think Urza back then was pretty busted. I think Urza now, it demands very specific play styles. So, you're going to have to be a pretty good control player. You're going to have to be a pretty good, like, mid-range specialist to play like the Euro version with Euro's Titan's Wrath and stuff like that. So, I think in that sense, it demands those aspects of it. So, I think right now it's a little more fair.
Okay. So, going back to our question before that, I just had to bring that up because, we talked, Urza was just, like, running rampant, and then now it seems like it's definitely nerfed, but I think the one deck that I would bring to a GP would probably be Dredge.
Really? Dredge?
I love my disgusting stuff. That's why I play Crabvine. That's why I've always that's why I wanted to build Arclight Phoenix. Those graveyard strategies have always been really fun to me. And I think Dredge, while it has a little bit more of a target on its back recently, still does not have the main target on its back. If I go to a GP, I assume that most people are going to think, okay, well, Amulet or like some kind of Titan deck is going to be the most that they're going to see.
Yes.
Or mono red prowess. I don't think they're going to really expect Dredge as much. Like, it's definitely going to be a possibility because it's one of... Like, right now in MTG Goldfish, it's one of the more top decks in the meta, but I don't think it's going to be as expected. And I just love Creeping Chill. It's a busted card.
Creeping Chill is pretty busted. I will say that also Dredge got to upgrade with that Ox. The Ox of Oganis, I think. Oganis. A 5/3 beater that comes out and can dredge you up to like 12 cards. It's pretty good. I know that on Twitter there is Zodek MTG. His Twitter name is MTG Zodek. He's a dredge specialist, and he actually thinks the Ox is overrated after he played it for a while. So I'm curious to think, what do you guys think? If you guys think the Ox is overrated in dredge, or do you think it's pretty well done? Because right now he's only playing a 2 of. He was at 3, but then he went to 2. So I think he agrees that it's still a good card in dredge, but it's not the end all be all as people thought it was going to be.
Not the faithless looting.
Yeah, it can't return back to the glory days of faithless looting. I think nothing could return to that, and maybe if they reprint Careful Study in next Modern Horizons 2, which when they do, I will love that. So please reprint that, Wizards.
Yeah, I think dredge, it just fits my kind of play style the best. I don't think it's probably the best option for me to play to bring to a GP because that's a lot of money.
Well, if we're talking about playing what deck I want to play just because of my play style, I'm gonna pick Grixis Death Shadow just in general because I think it's awesome, and I really think people aren't expecting it because Grixis Death Shadow, it's not a good deck, it's unplayable, and then all of a sudden you land a turn 2 Gurmag Angler and you swing 5 and they try to play something Stubborn Annihilate, and the next turn you Battle Rage and the game's over, and they're scooping up their cards, looking at their sideboard what to bring in against you, and they really can't find anything. I think those moments I'm like, yeah, Grixis Death Shadow's good.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but when Grixis Death Shadow is in the shadows, I know.
Whoa.
I know, a little wordplay for everyone. What's in the shadows, I think it tends to spike tournaments very well. Like, I go back to a few months ago, SCG Atlanta, everyone's talking about the Simic Urza decks with Team Lawless Box. What wins it all? John Holland with Grixis Death Shadow. So, stuff like that. Like, you have to pick your time to strike. Like, it's like with any rogue deck. Like, Erin Birch, she spiked the tournament a few weeks ago with Yawgmoth combo. Who would have... I am not thinking... when I am thinking about sideboarding, I'm not like, would this be good against Yawgmoth combo? No, because it wasn't in the meta at the time. And as you brought it. Also, Ashok hates on Yawgmoth combo, too. Because Quarter Calling, they can't search. Takes a lot longer to find the combo. Anyways, so I think picking your stuff to spike tournaments is important, and pick it wisely. That being said, don't build some janky deck and be like, man, I got him good, guys. Like,
no one's gonna expect it, but it's at the same time, it's not gonna perform.
It's not gonna perform good. So in that case, pick your poison, but make sure it's at least like a semi-established deck or something that you think has a real shot. So be careful brewing, but don't be afraid to go outside the choice, kind of thing, for sure.
And I was gonna even answer as well, if I had to choose a Death Shadows deck, Grixis Green really does intrigue me because I do like that Gurmag Angler and Tarmogoyf package. But I think I would like to try 4-color Shadow.
With the Traverse Shadow?
Yeah, okay. Traverse Shadow. Because I really like Traverse the Uvenwald. It's a really fun card.
It's super cool. I really like it.
So, like, Veil of Summer, Traverse the Outland, or not Traverse the Outland, Uvenwald. And then I'd hope to at least play humans at least once so that I can go Traverse for
Plague Engineer,
play that name humans. And
humans has been on the downtick, I've really noticed. Yep. Like, I don't know, I think because Simic Urza just goes, or like Blue-Black Urza and the Simic Urza decks, which are playing like Euro Nature's Titan's Wrath, are kind of like, okay, play your human, I'm going to play my 6/6, or go ahead and play that, I'm going to go 2-4 a Executioner's Capsule and just kill your stuff. You know, like, I think humans is a tough spot with that aggro control element. I think it can really bounce back because humans get put in every set. So every set they can possibly get new upgrades. So never count humans out.
Yeah, it always gets a lot of love from Wizards. There's usually, like the last set, they got Charming Prince or one of the last sets. So they're always possibly something that they're going to print that's going to be
For
humans
sure.
related. It's such a huge archetype, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to be out for a long time.
100%.
It's still going to be a good deck. So we talked about that they had the Modern, they had the Standard, and the Pioneer in Richmond. But they also had a SCG Modern Classic in Richmond. And I just kind of want to bring that up to you, talk about the results, see if you find anything that's kind of surprising. So first and second, Mono Red Prowess.
Okay.
Third was actually Go Gary Yawgmoth. Fourth, Azorius Control. Fifth, Dimir Urza. Sixth and seventh was Amulet Titan. Eighth was Grixis Death Shadow. Ninth was Heliod Company. And 10th was Burn. Is there anything that kind of strikes you right away?
Grixis Death Shadow kind of got me. I won't lie. Do you think you can pull up that full list or no? Did you write that down?
Yeah, I'll be able to pull that up.
Yeah, go ahead. Pull that list up for me. I want to see exactly what's in that Grixis Death Shadow list.
That was piloted by Anthony LaFlame.
Okay.
I think that's.
While Jeremy is finding that, I'll discuss what I think of that list in general. And I think that, nothing really stuck out to me too much. Like I said, Dimir Urza is becoming the go-to deck when it comes to Urza. I know people were experimenting with Teamer and Simic. People have this going straight blue-black control. And I really appreciate that because it seems like a more skill-intensive archetype. Not saying the others were not. But also, Grixis Death Shadow kind of surprised me. I thought people were going to play in 4-color for sure. But maybe because Oko is gone, they're kind of realizing, or not realizing, but maybe they're like, you know what, maybe I'll try GTS again. I'm looking right now at the Grixis Death Shadow deck piloted by Anthony LaFlame. But it looks like he has a standard 4 Death Shadow, 3 Snapcaster, 4 Street Wraith, 4 Gormark Angler, which makes sense. 1 Royal Scions. I still love that card. It looks like his list is pretty standard. He does have 1 Culligan's Command in the main and 2 Blood Crypt, which is I like actually because I have been on the 2 Blood Crypt for as long as I can remember. It used to be purely out of budget concerns because I couldn't afford the second Scalding Tarn. But I had the second Scalding Tarn, had the opportunity to trade for the third one to get 3 Scalding Tarn, 4 Polluted Delta, 4 Bloodstained Mires. But I just think having the second Blood Crypt is so huge that I really want it in my sideboard. Or I really want, not my sideboard, I really want it in my main board. His sideboard has Ashiok Dream Renderer and Mystical Dispute, both as one-ofs, but still important cards. So, not saying he got the idea from us, we never know. He could have looked into the future and peered into our minds. Looks like he's packing 2 Disdainful Strokes and 1 Dampening Sphere, 1 Draw on the Lock, 2 Plague Engineer, 1 Samurai's Rejection, 1 Abrade, 2 Collective Brutality. I think that's
2
it.
surgical extractions?
2 surgical extractions, which is pretty good against a lot of the graveyard decks. And then Cantrip Suite, he has the 4 Thought Scour, 4 Bauble, and then Street Wraith, if you count that as a cantrip. No Certain Visions in the main, which is interesting. Granted, I spent like $9 in the foil Certain Visions from Modern Masters 17, so of course I'm gonna make any excuse to run it. But if you don't want to run it, I think it's perfectly fine. I do like how he's running 1 Culligan's Command main. I think that is very good. I think that is something people should really consider.
Do you think it's interesting that I think normally kind of running 4 Fatal Push, you think it's interesting that he went down a Fatal Push so he can have Culligan's Command and Drown on the Lock? Because usually that little flex spot is either Drown on the Lock or Culligan's Command.
You know what? I like the 3-1 split because sometimes Fatal Push looks pretty poor in the sense that they're running out a spell and you want to counter it so badly, but you don't have a way to do it. So it makes sense. And I can kill a bigger threat if their graveyard's packed full, because I know Titan fills their graveyard pretty quickly with all the fetches and random free spells they have. So I think it's a pretty decent card for sure. I think 1 Draw Unlock in the main is pretty well, and I like it a lot. His list looks solid, and I definitely recommend if you're playing GDS, traditional Grixis Death Shadow, you go with this one for sure.
Were there any of the other decks that kind of interested you? Because first and second, Mono Red Prowess, everybody always talks about the Titan. Do you think that since Titan decks have such a target on their back that kind of plays to their downfall? Because everybody's like, well, Titan's the best deck in the format, but you don't see Titan until 6th place.
I think Mono Red Prowess goes underneath Titan. Titan can only do a lot of stuff like turn 3, turn 4 earliest. Granted, on turn 3, some Titan decks can kill you. But that being said, they actually have taken out the Boros Garrison. And Boros Garrison was one other card. I forget its name. I think Sun Home with the Fortress Legion or something. They took those lands out because they're more Valakut focused. And that being said, they can't like one shot kill you anymore. They have to rely on Valakut a little bit more, or just good old fashioned beats. So prowess goes underneath them by playing a bunch of prowess creatures and just killing you before you even get to that shot. At that point in the game. So nothing surprised me too much. Golgari Yawgmoth still holding strong. I'm very surprised by that.
Still coming out of nowhere.
I honestly thought it was a one-hit wonder, but it looks like it's a legitimate deck, and you need to start, like, when you're going to big events like that, looking at your sideboard and be like, okay, is this good against Yawgmoth and Titan kind of thing? So yeah, I think it's a solid list. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think, yeah, I was actually going to ask, since, Titan decks are kind of popular right now, and people are really starting to tune their sideboard towards that, because when they go to these big events, they're like, okay, so what decks am I going to face? It's probably going to be Amulet Titan or some kind of Titan deck. Do you think that these Titan-style decks might transform to Field of the Dead a little bit more? Because I feel like Field of the Dead is a little bit harder to answer. Do you think kind of switching towards that Field of the Dead might be a little bit harder for more decks to answer?
Field of the Dead is a busted Magic card. I will say that right away. Because all these Titan decks have Field of the Dead in them, which is disgusting. That being said, once Field of the Dead is on the battlefield, you have no way of answering it, and they keep on playing lands, and they have their requirement for different names and stuff. It's pretty hard to answer, and you're probably going to lose the game. That being said, there's hope. There's hope. The Dimir control decks, Ensnaring Bridge is a great card against them because they can just empty their hand with Collective Brutalities, and then maybe start repeatedly tapping down their team with Cryptic Command and Mystic Sanctuary. As far as the Death Shadow deck side, Legion's End is a fantastic card against them. That's the one where you 2 mana, 1 generic, 1 black, and you exile target creature, and all target creatures with the same name, converted mana cost 2 or less, and if it's in their hand or graveyard, they're exiled as well. Doesn't really matter the tokens, but when Pioneer first started, Field of Dead decks were everywhere, and that card started showing up a lot, and people started preparing for it with Legion's End in the sideboard. That being said, I think it fit very well into Modern because Death Shadow decks need like one tiny window to punch through and get their Battle Rage combo in to win the game, or just one big. Sometimes you'll have like 2 Death Shadows and an Angler on board, and you just need that one window to push everything through, and you can easily win the game. But they have a billion chump blockers with zombies, so you Legion's End, you wipe them all away, you swing in. Maybe you have a Snapcaster, you can do it again when they build up because they don't have haste or anything. So you just snap Legion's End, that's 4 mana, and then zoop, their whole board's gone. You swing in again and win.
I think another key card for Death Shadow in that matchup that kind of puts the advantage towards Grixis Green and 4-color Shadow is Assassin's Trophy.
Destroying that
you got
permanent.
Field of the Dead, I'm going to destroy that. You can go ahead and grab a basic, but I'm not going to deal with all the zombies.
Usually it's a one-of, too.
Yeah.
Field of Dead's a one-of, so
once they bring that in against Grixis, and unless you got
Alpine Moon,
but it's a little bit harder because 4-color Shadow, Grixis Green has that answer right away.
Yes.
So, and then if you're on the Grixis side, you're sitting there like,
I really hope it drawn to my Legion's End.
maybe I'll get 2 Plague Engineers.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too. I do see 2 Plague Engineers as a pretty standard number of Plague Engineers in the sideboard for Grixis Death Shadow lists. So that is your out. Get those 2 out on board and name zombie as quick as possible and protect them like your life depends on it. Because guess what? Your life does depend on it.
So, one question about the Modern format as a whole. I kind of thought about this at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to go to sleep, and I was like, this would be a great idea to talk about. Is this the most diverse Modern meta you've seen in a while? Because you had before, you had Hogak just completely dominating the Modern meta. We did that with our documentary. We talked about how Hogak was just finishing 1st, 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th. And then you go to the next event, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, or whatever. And
Is it Phoenix too? Was really dominant.
Phoenix was starting to get really good, and then you got the Urza style decks like Simic Urza when Oko and Opal was still around. They were kind of taken. They weren't as bad as Hogak, I wouldn't say, because Hogak had a lot of top 8s, but they still produce a lot of results there.
But Oko itself was in every deck.
In every deck, yeah.
So Urza himself wasn't super dominant. Don't get me wrong, he was dominant for sure.
And it needed to be nerfed.
It needed to be nerfed, but the fact that Oko, it was I think the comparison could be like Oko was like having your own mini Hogak whenever deck you wanted to play that could play blue-green. Because Hogak, as busted as he was, he still demanded you play A, lots of creatures for the Convoke, B, tons of graveyard cards, because you need it for Delve, and probably blue or black, or black or green. So he really demanded you to have a certain archetype built around him. But Oko, he can go in mid-range strategies. He can go in artifact strategies.
Go and burn.
He can go in burn. He can go in control strategies. He went in, like, every single deck. He can go in Death Shadow decks. Like, it was ridiculous how
Grixis green idea really came from.
Exactly. So he was so prevalent that he needed to go in order to shake up the metagame. I'm looking at the metagame right now, and honestly, I think it's pretty diverse. I think Mono Red Blitz is really cool. Amlin Titan's obviously a good deck. Obviously, like a fantastic deck. Jund is in there. Dredge, Bant Stoneblade, Titanfield, Elzazitron, Grixis Death Shadow, Burn, Humans, Storm. I think it's a pretty diverse metagame, if I'm being honest, and I think it's pretty fun at the moment.
Because I was even thinking, like, back in the Hogak days, like, you asked literally anybody, even somebody that, like, kind of plays Modern for fun, like, what's the best deck in the format? Oh, okay, Hogak. And it didn't matter whether it was with Bridge from Below, even after that got banned, it was still the best deck in the format.
100%, yep.
We asked them a couple months ago, they'd be like, more than likely, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, Simic Urza, definitely.
Yeah.
One of the best decks in the format. Anybody that plays really competitively was like, I really don't want to face this deck. And this is like the first time in a while that I've thought about the Modern meta, and I'm like, I really don't know what the best deck in the format is.
I think Titan is the best deck at the moment. That being said, it's a very beatable best deck. Like, it doesn't feel like they play this and I'm like, oh my god, I need to concede. Like, Titan, I think Titan is the best deck in the format at the moment. That being said, like I said, it's very beatable. You have Assassin Trophies to hit their lands that they're very much needed. You have Blood Moon-esque decks that can probably hate them out. You have creature removal to hate on their big Titans and stuff like that, and ramp creatures. So, overall, I think it's the best deck, but it's beatable. So, you know, you can also start building your decks. If you're going to those big events and you know you're going to see tons of Titan, start building those meta-hating decks that people like to build, like the Blood Moon main decks to just hate them out. Like, when Humans was huge, that's when Mardu Pyromancer was able to spike up, because Mardu Pyromancer is just a pile of removal spells with young Pyromancer tokens ready to take on Humans, you know. So I think it's a pretty diverse metagame, if I'm being honest.
And that's what I was even going to add. Like, Hogak was a dominant, and it was like the clear-cut dominant. There was like really no debate between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Urza was the best deck. There really wasn't much of a debate between 1 and 2. But Titan is the best deck in the format, but 2nd, 3rd, 4th are not that far off from 1st, and that's something that we haven't seen in a while. Like, these decks before, like, clear cut, there's like no debate. But like this time, like, it probably is the best deck in the format, but every deck that's below it is not that far off from it, which I think is really nice, which I think helps make it one of the most diverse Modern metas we've had in a while.
100%. And I think that, you know, I saw a tweet from MTG Corner on Twitter. Fantastic Magic page. If you guys want to go give that a follow, make sure you do. But he tweeted that, like, man, Goys are $30 right now. Like, what's going on with Modern? Like, I keep on telling myself it is fun. And I said, yes, Modern is very fun. And so what if Goys are cheap? That's awesome. I was able to pick up a nice foil playset for like $60 each, when foil Goys used to be like hundreds of dollars. It was ridiculous, you know. I was able to pick up a regular playset of Goys for like $125 I picked up my playset for. So like, Goys are cheap. If you want to buy into Modern, the time is now. Go get your fetch lands, go get your Goys, go get your Snapcasters, because everyone's on the Pioneer hype train. Don't get me wrong, I think Pioneer is a very fun format. It's very cool. But the biggest thing with Pioneer at the moment that I don't like is, as soon as a deck starts doing good, everyone takes out their pitchforks and they're like, ban it. And I'm like, what happened? I heard Ross Merriman speak on SCG Live, and he said, what happened, instead of calling for bans, like, how do we, or why can't we ban this? People should be asking themselves, how should I beat this? You know, give it a few weeks. See how you're going to beat the deck. Yeah. You know, sideboard yourself. Build a deck that hates on the meta, you know. like, people need to ask themselves that. Instead of asking, how should I beat, or why can't they ban this? Ask, like, how can I beat this? Mm-hmm. Which I think is a really cool philosophy Ross Merriman hit, like, right on the nail. Like, part of Magic is figuring things out and realizing when your deck maybe isn't as good right now in the meta and it'll bounce back. Like, there's been plenty of times I play Grixis Death Shadow and I'm like, this sucks.
It became, like, depressing.
Yeah, in the Hogak Summer, I looked in the mirror and I think I had clown makeup on. I was like, you're playing Grixis Death Shadow and someone just played an 8/8 on turn 2. And you have a turn 2 Gurmag Angler, and it still wasn't good enough. Not even you had chump block with your Angler. How does it make you feel? And I think I walked away and heard little like clown noises, like little honk honk. So it really got to me. But at that point, I started brewing, and I looked at Reddit, looked at the Death Shadow Discord. People were like, you know what? Hey, Mardu is really good because of Path to Exile and stuff like that. I'm like, let me give Mardu a shot, and I really enjoyed it. So start taking that action, like to Modern with Titan if you want to Pioneer with Dimir Inverter. Like, think to yourself, how can I beat this deck? And that's what you go for. And if you're coming up with no answers, if you're coming up with still getting your face smashed in, then it's time for a ban. Like Oko, ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was so hard to beat such a fair card. Like I said, it was very hard to beat that deck or beat anything with Oko because it's just like, oh my god, like, oh, I'll go aggro. Oh, guess what? I have life gain. Yep. I'll do artifact combo. I'll turn into an elk. I'll do big creatures. Oh, that's elk too. Like, it
didn't matter what kind of green-blue deck it was. As soon as you knew you're playing green-blue, you're like,
oh, here comes Oko.
Oko's going to be coming out of nowhere soon.
Exactly. So, and then I was like, well, how do I beat it? I guess I'll play my own Oko. So, it was like that, But for Pioneer right now, like I said, the reason why I'm iffy on it, and the reason why I not played as much, is it feels like everything gets banned, which is kind of sad. I like seeing decks that are dominant and stay dominant, and then fall, then crumble, and then rise back up. Like,
and there should be those dominant decks, not like dominant that just any deck below is like you can't compete with it, but there should be that dominant deck that comes out of like Amulet could be pretty dominant, but now decks are going to be like, okay, so we got to adjust to Amulet, and there should be that adjustment period. You shouldn't automatically be like, all right, let's get rid of it. Like, you need to be able to sit down and have a couple of weeks of just trying to figure out what cards, how
tune
many,
your sideboard.
Tune the sideboard to what the meta is. And if it, like, those sideboard cards, like, for many different style decks do not work against this top deck, then it's time to look at it and be like, okay, we need to probably ban something. But
exactly. But right now, I think Titan is very strong, but it's very beatable. Those are my statements when it comes to that, for sure. And I know we're a Modern podcast, but I want to say one last thing about Pioneer. If anyone wants to try to jam Dimir Inverter in Modern, make it work, please let me know, because I think it is an awesome combo. And when it gets banned in Pioneer eventually, because people have their pitchforks ready to go, I will definitely buy up the $3 inverters that will probably go down in a $1 Thassa's Oracle and try to jam it Modern, see if it works. Probably won't, probably will suck, but who knows.
And I do think this is going off of the pitchfork idea. I think this is the first time in Modern in a while that there's really hasn't been a lot of people that are like, this needs to be banned. Like, mostly people are coming after Veil of Summer, but after that, I think people are generally happy with the Modern meta right now.
Yeah.
Like, when Oko was rampant, when Hogak was rampant, like, I was, like, tired of going on Twitter because it was just, like, this sucks. Like, this card's stupid. Like, it needs to go.
It went from Hogak to Oko. Like, Twitter was pardon my language, it was a shitstorm of, like, crazy things. Like, everyone was just like, this sucks, oh, this sucks. Yeah. Like, it's, like, so negative, and it was hard to play Magic and play Modern, especially when everyone says your format that you love and you invested so much money in sucks.
Yeah.
And
because there's a way of saying that it's not, like, Modern isn't good right now, but, like, there's a couple people that are like, Modern sucks. Like, you're be stupid to play it, and it's like, okay. Like, calm down, dude. Like, calm down, please.
Well, like, in that sense, like, I feel like it was hard. But I know people were saying that, Amulet was kind of going to be a problem, or Primeval Titan himself could be banned. But I feel like those concerns have went down a bit. People are like, I can beat this. Yeah. Like, I think when I face against Titan, they'll have some nuts games. They completely clobber me. But there's been some games where I'll pick their whole entire hand apart. I'll have a Stubborn ready to go for the Veil of Summer with the Thoughtseize ready to go as well. I'll have Mystical Disputes. I'll have Ashiok on the board. They can't search. It's a pretty cool... it's a cool match, and I enjoy it a lot.
And one of the things, like, people thought Amulet Titan would be one of the better decks in the format, but, like, as you look through some of the recent events, like, of course decks are going to put up top 8 finishes, but it's not like whether, like, the last Modern League, I'm kind of looking here, and I don't see any Titan-style decks. Even the Modern Preliminary before that, I don't see any Titan-style decks. And, like, there'll be times where there's, like, maybe 3 Titan decks or 2 Titan decks. Like, there's nothing absolutely insane about some of these Titan decks. I don't think they're not going to get oppressive. I wouldn't ban anything in any... Like, maybe Veil of Summer could be argued for, but, like, other than that, I'm really happy with the Modern format.
I am, too, at the moment. Veil of Summer is pretty busted. I will say that, and if it gets banned, I completely understand. I will completely lay down my sword and be like, yes, it's fine for getting banned. Same with Once Upon a Time. At the same time, though, if Modern Horizons comes around, the second one, and they come out with some awesome blue and black cards that are just completely dominant, I think Veil of Summer is a pretty good answer to those. So maybe, here's my tinfoil hat theory, maybe Wizards hasn't banned Veil of Summer because they know the black and blue spells coming in Modern Horizons 2. Like Daze. Please Daze. Maybe Force of Will. Who knows? I don't think so because we have Force Negation, but who knows? Cards like that. Maybe we have Veil of Summer to keep those decks in check.
Kind of police the format a little bit.
Yeah, be kind of cool.
And, like, even though Veil of Summer is really strong, I don't think it's super oppressive. I think the 1 mana idea might have been a little bit of a mistake.
Should have made it 2.
Should have made it 2 mana. I think if it was 2 mana, I don't know if it would be as playable.
I don't think it will be a weird sideboard slot. It's like a 1-of, I think.
So the 1 mana might have been a little bit of a mistake, but it's not, like, compared to Opal, compared to Oko, some of these past couple bans, it's nowhere. I don't think it's on the power level.
It was an amalgamation of all those cards at once that made it, like, vomit-inducing. But take away Oko, take away Opal... Veil of Summer Once Upon a Time are still busted, 100%. But I think that if they get banned, that's fine. If they don't get banned, I really hope we get Daze. That's all I'm going to say.
So I'm going to kind of fight it, because Green's been getting a lot of powerful cards. I would kind of put Veil of Summer towards, like, the power level. A little bit underneath Faithless Looting. Because it's not, like, super oppressive as some of these other bannings, but Faithless Looting, like, while draw 2, discard 2 might not be, like, crazy, it's the deck that you put it in, and
it was the engine that made it go. Veil of Summer is not an engine itself. It's just like the best sideboard card ever for green. So
there's a possibility you might not ever even use Veil of Summer. You might sideboard it in and still win without it. So it's not
100%.
It's not like some of these other cards that got banned.
I think it's
you
just
need it in the deck.
I think it's just WotC's testament to their green love lately. I'm like, you know what? Give those blue players and black players some good cards like Daze already. I want Daze so bad in Grixis Death Shadow because seeing Legacy when blue-black Death Shadow was huge, seeing them play Watergrave, Thoughtseize you, they'll take a card, and then the guy will try to play like a turn 1 Thoughtseize of their own or a Delver, and they pick up Daze, and they pick up their Watergrave and counter it with a Daze. Fantastic, and I loved it. I really want that in Modern too.
Alright, so to kind of wrap it up, we had 2 questions from last time that we were not able to get answered, and we wanted to get them answered. And this kind of ties in with when you were talking about the Hogak era. You played Mardu Shadow, you switched to Mardu Shadow because Grixis just wasn't good at the time. It's not that it was a bad deck, it was just at that time it was not good.
Yeah.
So Ryan Flamand, we're going to kind of combine the 2 questions. So his question was, what would a Mardu list look like? And I1 Hill or E1 Hill said, what belongs in the 2-drop spot in Mardu Shadow?
So, first off, you guys love Mardu Shadow. You guys are diehards. You guys are probably more diehards than I am with Grixis Death Shadow, because you guys will just love that deck till the day you die, I swear to God. Because as soon as I could stop playing Mardu Shadow, I did. I recognized, like, Ranger Captain isn't good right now. Like Path, not that good right now. Like, I just kind of switched my brain off from Mardu. But people love it, and I gotta give them props. I have to say, I personally don't think Mardu Shadow is good right now. and I don't think it's been good for a while, to be honest.
We're not saying that it's a bad deck.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you should switch off of it. We're saying, just like Grixis Death Shadow was a good deck, but it was bad in the Hogak era. Right now, that the way the meta is positioned, Mardu is just not good in this meta.
Yeah, if you are playing locally or LGS or local tournaments and you're playing Mardu and you're loving it and you're doing well, more power to you. Go at it. You're awesome. You got this. If you're going to large GP scale, like, SCG, Channel Fireball events, I think that you should definitely second guess yourself a little bit before you take Mardu's Shadow. So I'll try to answer this as best I can when it comes to what I put in the 2-drop slot. I like Gurmag Angler a lot. I think Gurmag Angler is a hell of a card. But I also I know Irwin Hill actually suggested Kroxa, the Titan of the God of Death or whatever.
Bring up.
Granted, you have that weird 2-mana Raven's Crime, feels bad sometimes. But with all the discard in the pseudo discard with Tidehollow Scholar, it doesn't feel that bad. And then it comes out as a 6/6 that can bolt your opponent every turn when it attacks. I think it's a pretty cool card for sure. So I would actually experiment with one Gurmag Angler and one Kroxa. I think he's a really cool card too. Also, the artwork is just purely awesome in that card. Just I don't know if you guys ever looked at the artwork, but there's tiny mouths. He has mouths for eyes, and he has a mouth on his belly, and he has a mouth on his feet. He has mouths everywhere. So if you guys are in the mouths, I would check out Kroxa too.
I was going to talk about it a little bit because I found a Mardu Shadow deck that did is fairly-ish recent, December 24th of 2019, that went 5-0. They talked about the 2-drop spots. Tidehowler Scholar, still running 4 of those. I believe Hill said that he runs a 3-1 split with Ranger Captain VO, so they're running 4 in this list. I really love Giver of Ruins. Very good, powerful card.
You can also play Tidehowler Scholar now without the worry it gets turned into an elk. That was a big concern before. You can actually kind of experiment with it, which is nice.
And Mardu is actually running Unearth, which is something that when got printed, people are like, "Oh man, this is going in Grixis Death Shadow," and then
it was there for a week.
Nah, we don't need it.
It was there for a week, and then it was gone.
So the list looks pretty interesting. Still the stock 1 Hex Parasite, which was pretty good. Because like I said, I don't want to say that Mardu's a bad deck, because this is coming from the guy that really tried to make Esper Death Shadow work. Arguably the worst color combination for Death Shadow. I just don't think Mardu's good right now. And even with the Kroxa, I think Kroxa's a little too slow to be able to work in Mardu Shadow. Because that escape cost can really hurt. Double black, double red, and then 5 cards. So
you have to fetch very specifically to get that double red.
Yeah, you got to pay that and exile 5 other cards. So if you're trying to do that, I think it's a little bit better just
I think a one of
Angler or something, because
a one of Kroxa is good. I think 1 Kroxa is okay. You go overload that, and I think it's going to be a bad time.
It could be interesting. I don't see it really panning out in Mardu. I probably wouldn't run it.
And then watch it do great, and you're going to feel like a dummy.
Then, yeah, I'm going to edit this part out of the video. Yeah, it's just I was looking at the list. I don't think it's changed too much. Mardu, they're not running Path to Exile anymore in this. Oh, this list at least. They went to 4 Fatal Push, no Path to Exile. I'm looking at the sideboard. Yeah, they completely cut Path to Exile. Not even in the main board, not even in the sideboard.
Because there's no big graveyard creatures like Hogak anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it could hit Primeval Titan, but you're still giving them a land. That is true.
It's a 1-mana answer, but now
do you really want it just for that? I mean, you could hit Urza, but you can also hit that with Fatal Push if you have a fetch land or if you have something that leaves the battlefield. Basically, it looks like they're running white just for Ranger Captain and Giver of Ruins, maybe Tidehowler Scholar. So I don't know. I wouldn't switch to white just to run those cards right now. Giver, I like Giver a lot. I like Ranger Captain a lot. I don't know about Tide. I was always a little iffy on Tidehowler Scholar. Even when I played Esper, I tried that in Esper as well. But
again, though, if you guys are running Mardu and you're liking it, go for it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think it's a cool deck. You guys obviously I'm not gonna tell you your deck sucks. Go buy Scalding Tarns or go buy Verdant Catacomb. Sometimes you don't have that type of money and you invest in a deck, you need to play it. 100% understand. Just know that if you go to those huge events, you could get beaten because your deck isn't optimal towards the meta. Because the meta is always flowing, always ever changing.
And if you're looking to have fun with it, then yeah, by all means, Of course, we're going to advocate more people play Death Shadow decks. We love Death Shadow decks.
Yeah, you're still playing a Death Shadow deck
Exactly.
at the end of the day.
I really tried to make Esper work, and it never did, but it was just the fact that I was able to try to bring... I love that color combination Esper, so I was really trying to make it work for Death Shadow, and I had a lot of fun piloting it. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, so that was the martyred topic. I hope all you guys enjoyed that section. Lastly, the last topic I want to talk about was MTG Brussels. They had a modern portion of the tournament, and 4-color Death Shadow looks like it teared it up. I think it's actually Michael Rapp's list. Correct me if I'm wrong with a few tweaks. But it looks like it's solid. So, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the 4-color world when it comes to that. So, I was pretty impressed by it, and I think he did a great job.
And I do like these lists. You talked about how Tarmogoyf were always coming into Magic. We're like, Tarmogoyf is like 90, like $100. Like, we're never going to be able to kind of play. Like, we've always wanted to play that card, and it was just like too expensive, but it's really nice to see that the price has dropped a bit. I know that kind of sucks for the people that have Tarmogoyf. They're like, I got this expensive card, but it's nice to be able to, if I want to have that chance to switch to Grixis Green, switch to 4-color Shadow, I can look at it and be like, still a little pricey, but it's not...
It's doable.
Exactly. I looked at it before, like, there's no way I'm going to have
It's not Legacy Duel
expensive.
So, in that case, I think it's doable. Like I said, buy your Modern stuff now, because when Modern Horizons 2 gets announced or spoiled or whatever, it's going to shoot back up again. So be wary of that, But
I'm excited to see what kind of cards come out of Modern Horizons, whether they build up some of the current decks in the format, whether they
create new archetypes.
Create new archetypes.
Snow is a new archetype now because of Modern Horizons.
So I think if they push that in those last sets, they're going to push some more snow-covered stuff.
Yeah.
Snow-type deck archetypes in this
for sure.
Modern Horizons too.
Yep. Well, I think that's all we have time for this week. Yep. Thank you for everyone who joined us, and we appreciate you guys a lot. So, again, comment below on what you think or what you use primarily as your streaming platform when it comes to podcasts. Is it SoundCloud? Is it Apple? Is it Spotify? I know we're not up there, but if you would like to see it on Spotify, is it YouTube? Stuff like that. So just comment below your thoughts and any questions you want us to answer for next week. We'll be back with more shout-out content next week.
And if there's any suggestions on anything, go ahead and put that in there. Just want to throw in there, we're going to try to make Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m.
a.m. Central Time for the U.S.
Central Time, where we're going to put it, when we're going to put our videos up. So just wanted to throw that in there real quick. And so make sure you stay tuned to future projects, and thank you for tuning in.